So this tutorial is going to be the basics of laying out a document in InDesign. So we're going to start going into InDesign here, and I'm going to be using the Blurb book creator, which can be downloaded off of their website, which is a useful tool for publishing your work online to be printed out into a book. So I'm going to go into the Blurb book creator application. So this is the first inaugural video recording tutorial made by the Graphic Collective, and today we're going to be talking about how to lay out a book in InDesign. So we're going to go into InDesign here, and I like to use the Blurb book creator, which is a plugin for InDesign that you can download for free off of blurb.com. And there are other self-publishing tools that you can download for free and resources. Lulu is another one, but I like Blurb. So we're going to go into that, and we're going to create a new book. And we're going to title it Tutorial 1. And we're just going to keep the number of pages to 20 for now. You can add or delete more later if you see fit. And I think I want to do a landscape. And so Blurb will give you a preset number of options for your book and sizes that they can print. So once we've selected all of our options, we're going to create our Pages template. We're just going to save that as Untitled Pages onto the desktop. And it'll create the template. We're going to select OK. We don't have to create a cover template yet. I usually like to do that at the end because the cover template will adjust to the number of pages you have. So the book spine will match up, or the cover spine will match up to your book when you're done. We're just going to click OK. And what we see here first is that Blurb has already laid out margins, a bleed line, and the page size for us. These margins are set for their printing. So if you're going to adjust their margins, you just need to make sure that you're not making them smaller. So we're going to go into our Pages tab here, and we see all of our pages in the bottom part, and then we have our master pages. Now anything we apply to our master pages will be applied to all of our pages in the book. So we're going to do all of our layout in the master pages. Now, they give us a layer here to start with, and I'm going to rename it Layout, and I'm going to uncheck the Print Layer option so that it doesn't print when we publish. And I'm going to do all my layout in this layer. I'm going to hide that. And now that we're on our master pages here, we're going to go into our Layout tab, and we're going to adjust our margins and columns. Now, I like to change up the symmetry a little to add a little more life. So I'm going to make the bottom margin a little bigger, the inside margin a little bigger. And I'm going to add 3 columns, and I'm going to add some space between them called the gutter. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some horizontal guides. So I'll create a few rows here. I'll create 5. I'll make the gutter the same as the ones on the margin. And I'll fit those guides to the margin. So that way it's laid out to fit the page better. Now the next thing we might want to do is to add a page number. And that's easy to do. Go into our Type tool, create a box, and then if we go into our Type tab, insert special character, we'll insert a marker, current page number marker. And then we'll adjust that to where we want it on our pages. Usually we like them in the bottom corners. So, in order to adjust the options for our text box, we can either click Control B, or we can right click and go into our text frame options. And what I'll do here is I'll align it to the bottom of the box. The inert spacing options will allow you to adjust where that sits in the text box, but I'm happy with it where it is. And then we're going to copy that onto the other side. And we're going to justify it to the right. Now if we go into our pages, we can see that our page numbers are automatically placed on all of our pages. If you add or delete pages, it'll adjust automatically too. Now the next step we might want to take is to create some swatches. To create a color library for our layout, our book or portfolio. So I'm going to delete the swatches they've given me. And I'm just going to start with a copy of the black swatch, and I'll do that by just clicking the new swatch button, and I'll double click and I'll name it Black 2. And we use CMYK colors because those are your standard printing colors. And so we'll just adjust this, and I usually like to tone it down a little bit because fully saturated black can be a little intense. And I'll use this color for my text and my body text, the colors that I use. Next thing we might want to do is to set up some grays, some lighter colors. We'll do gray 1, and we'll make this 50. And I think I want to warm it up a little bit. So we'll do 15 and 15. Tone that down a little bit. Now we have a warm gray that we can use. So as we build our swatch library, it limits the number of colors we use to maintain consistency. Now we're going to go back into our layers, and we're going to start organizing how we want everything laid out. So I'm going to start with the background layer. Now this layer can be used for changing the background color of your pages. And what we'll do is we'll start at the outside bleed line. We'll just make a box. We'll go into our swatches again. And I don't want a stroke on the outside of it, but I'll make it that color. And then we can add another layer. We'll call this one title. We'll create a text box, and we'll align it with our guides that we've set up. Now when I'm doing a book, it's more graphically oriented. It's better to pick a few font styles, stick with them, and I usually like to pick sans serif fonts. So I'm going to select an easy one, standard. I'm going to select Swiss 721 BT, which is the Windows version of Helvetica. And I'll make that 30. And that's where we'll have that. And I'm going to go into my text frame options again, and I want to align it to the bottom. And I want to give it a little more space. So we'll add another 6 onto that. And I want to change the color. So I'll just make that white. And then maybe we'll have some text. So I'm going to go back into my layers here. I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to name it text. And I'm going to put that text frame in the text layer. Now for the time being, I'm going to fill it with placeholder text. And if you right click on the text box, you can just select that option and it'll fill that with placeholder text. And I'm going to justify with the last line aligned left, which is usually good for large sections of text. That way it reads as a whole body. And I'm going to change the font again. And I'm going to make it a little smaller. Again, I'm going to change that text color to white there. And there we have that. And now if we want to, we can place an image. So we'll just simulate that with the box here. And we'll align that with our grid. So there's an example of an image. You can do a full page image if you like. The bleed line on the outside is useful for doing full page images because when they crop the pages after they print them, it makes sure that your artwork will extend to the full width of the page. So that'll do it for our very first tutorial. I hope that was helpful.